Ask you some questions about your relationships, and I understand that your last name is not Violette, it's Lachance, but who do you consider yourself with?
Kyle Violette.
How long have you guys been together?
22 years.
And do you have a family together?
We do, 2 children.
Can you give me just their ages?
My son is 15, my daughter is 18.
And I don't think we need to get in too much to your son. My understanding, he did not witness directly events here, but we met your daughter yesterday.
Yes.
What's her name?
Kendra Violette.
Okay. And where do you guys live?
43 Summer Street, Rochester.
Who do you live there with?
Kyle Violette and our 2 children.
We had heard yesterday that there was sort of an educational split with where the kids reside. Who do they live with most of the week?
Their grandmother, Cindy Glenn.
Okay. And why is it that they live in?
Well, they started going to school in Farmington when they were elementary school. So when we moved to Rochester, they just didn't want, they wanted to continue their education where they had been the whole time. So.
Has that worked out?
Oh yeah. Kendra's about to graduate.
Do you work outside of the home?
I do. I work at Gaslight in Portsmouth.
And what is the Gaslight in Portsmouth?
It's a restaurant.
And what do you do there?
I bartend.
How long have you been with the Gaslight?
4 years.
And speaking of time frames, how long have you lived at 43 Summer?
It'll be 3 years next month.
And you said you work at the Gaslight. We had heard some that Kendra works part-time there as well.
Yeah, I got her the job as a host when she was almost 15, and she just started serving when she turned 18.
How's that working out for you guys? Too much time together? Or?
No, it's great. Actually, no, it really is great. She's a great kid. I love working with her.
Look, Angela, may I call you Angela, or would you prefer Miss Lachance?
No, Angela's fine.
Thank you. You know why we're here, why you're here today, and I want to now focus on April 4th of last year.
Yeah.
Can you just begin and introduce us to what was going on earlier in the night for you and your family?
Sorry. We were all off, well, myself and Kendra were off of work that night, so we were just kind of having a family night. We had made dinner. We had all retired up to our bedrooms. It was about, 10 o'clock or so. Myself and Kyle were in our room. Kendra was in her room. My son was in his room playing video games.
Tell us a little bit, I think we know, but what was going on outside?
It was snowing.
All right. And not just snowing, right? This was a pretty big storm.
It was a pretty big, the biggest one of the year, I'm pretty sure.
What was your plan, and not to get too far in the weeds of this, but what was your plan for clearing the snow from your driveway?
My daughter's friend, her father plows, and he was supposed to come plow our driveway. We were going back and forth between text messages for quite some time, and he didn't show up when he said he was going to show up. And quite a few hours had gone by, so I really didn't think that he was going to show up. So our plan essentially was going to be to have to go out and shovel by hand.
All right. Plan B, shovels by hand.
Yep.
Create some degree of anxiety, concern among everybody?
Yeah, of course. It was a lot of snow.
And did you need to use cars in the morning?
Yes. Yep.
Who lived next door to you, I guess as you are facing the house to your right?
Jason Levesque and his parents.
And you said that there was kind of a plan A for your plowing and then a plan B by hand. Look, had there been any concerns about the volume of snow out front?
Well, yeah, the snow piles up from the plow going through the street, and then it got built up even more by Mr. Levesque.
And so, had that been an issue prior to this night?
Yes.
In what way? How can you describe how you've seen the process work before?
He would plow his snow from the front of his driveway past our telephone pole, build up pile in front of the street and then push it in front of our driveway.
Okay, and you say there would be a pile near or just beyond the
telephone
pole?
pole, yeah.
And was that a first step, and then what
Yeah.
followed? And then what was the second step?
He would, because obviously he can't leave it in the street, he would ultimately push it at the end of our driveway.
Okay. And did that include the snow that was then backpulled out of his driveway?
Yes.
And had that been a, tension point prior to the 4th?
It had happened at least one time before.
Okay. You were just talking about a family night moving towards, sounds like closer to bedtime, when people dispersed in your home, doing their own thing.
Yeah.
What happened after that?
When we realized that Kendra's friend's father was probably not going to show up and we were going to have to plow by hand, Kyle noticed that Mr. Levesque was plowing his snow to the end of our driveway, which essentially would have made it more difficult for us to plow by hand. So he went out to ask him not to do that.
Can I ask you to provide kind of a sequence of events where you went to?
Yeah, so after he grabbed his hoodie, he went to walk out. I went into Kendra's room. I said, your dad just went out to go talk to the neighbor. Me and Kendra walked downstairs into the living room. We were kind of just walking around the living room. And then we went to the bay window, next to the screen porch where the video camera is.
Understood.
And we were looking outside.
So this may be obvious. We were out there yesterday, I think
Yeah.
you know, and you're describing there were 2 bay windows facing your house from your driveway. Are you
Yeah.
talking about the one to the left or to the right?
If you're facing my screen porch,
Yep.
it's to the left.
If you're facing the screen
If you're
porch,
facing my house.
then it's the first one to the
Yes.
left. Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you were both looking outside from there, and there was a surveillance camera from a similar angle. Is that fair?
Yeah, so the surveillance camera comes from the top left-hand side of the window, and myself and Kendra were just, looking from the middle. Kendra was on the right.
After the events occurred outside,
Yeah.
did you have contact with law enforcement, any police officers?
Yes.
Did you agree to provide the surveillance footage from that camera to law enforcement?
Yes, I gave it to them that night. I provided Kyle's phone because our cameras are on an app that was on his phone. We couldn't get onto the app on his phone, so I emailed it to them, I airdropped it to them, I provided multiple different ways of them having that video.
And that night, did they come inside at some point after this event and actually view
Yes.
your phone?
Yes.
Are you aware whether or not they actually then took a screen video of your screen video as well for
Yes.
short term?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I don't want to gratuitously do this, unnecessarily do this, but we watched that video yesterday.
Yeah.
And I want to play an abbreviated version. I don't think we need to go through the whole thing.
Sure.
Certainly defer to the defense. But I want to show you a portion of that because I have some follow-up questions for you.
Okay.
Okay? Bear with me just a second, Your Honor. May we set up? We managed to upgrade. Okay, we'll move good. I say we've upgraded, but I don't know that actual performance. And Your Honor, for the record, this is State's Exhibit 2 as a full exhibit.
Yeah, thank you.
Judge, this will just take a minute.
Oh.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, may the witness leave the stand and approach the well.
Once you're ready.
Yep. voice seems to carry fairly well, but I'm just going to bring this down. And I was holding my breath. Angela, do you recognize this image?
Yes, that's the image from the surveillance camera in my bay window.
Thank you. Counsel, can we play and spare? I don't know that everybody needs to see the plowing again, but perhaps when Mr. Violette leaves the residence. And can you identify this person?
That's Kyle.
You had described him putting on a hoodie. Did you see him do that?
Yes.
If I could stop there. Are you able to see Mr. Levesque's truck door open in the left corner adjacent to the house?
Yes.
Okay. And you had just said, there he goes.
Yep.
Who are you referring to?
I'm referring to Jason getting out of his truck.
All right. And can I have you continue? Can I pause it here? You just said, I hope he doesn't do anything stupid.
Yes.
Who are you talking about?
Mr. Levesque.
And are you able to hear from your, I guess, vantage point, the conversation or words exchanged, if any, between Levesque and...
No, we were not able to hear anything.
Okay. Could we continue to play? We stop. Can you tell who it is that backs away or separates from the truck?
In which part?
This part here, the individual on the right, to your knowledge, is who?
That's Kyle.
Okay.
That I can see right there by the pole.
All right. Please.
No, he's getting up. He hasn't gotten out of the jail. Hey! He just got him! He just got him! Hey!
Can you rewind just back to approximately the point where she indicates he has a gun? Good. Pause, please. You yelled at about this point that he has a gun.
That was Kendra.
Kendra,
Yeah.
were you able to see a firearm?
So when Kendra noticed the gun, I was walking towards the window, but I was looking down. When she yelled, "He has a gun," I looked up and I witnessed the first shot to the face.
Could you tell that he had a firearm in his hand?
Yes.
And was there anything about the lighting or the distance that prohibited you from seeing what he had in his hand?
Nothing at all. I had a very clear view.
Were you able to see whether Kyle had anything in his hand or brandished anything in his hand during your period of observation?
No, Kyle never brandished anything or had anything in his hand.
And can you roll this?
No, he's getting up. He hasn't gotten out of the jail. Hey! He just got him!
Can you pause it? What direction was Kyle proceeding in when the first shot was fired?
Kyle was starting to walk home.
And the next 5 shots, were you able to tell what direction he was proceeding when they were fired?
Kyle was already on the ground from the first shot.
And his movements, in what direction did he go?
He was trying to army crawl home.
Can you just proceed? Who is this?
That's Kendra.
And who is this?
That's me.
I think that's good. Ma'am, could you resume the witness stand, please? May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
We just left off where you went outside. Can you describe how Kyle appeared to you when you reached him?
When I went outside, he was curled up in a ball by the telephone pole, bleeding profusely. I called 911 immediately.
What's your estimate of how long it took for law enforcement to respond?
Only a couple of minutes. It was very fast.
And from there, can you just briefly describe to us the sequence of events as you experienced it?
Yeah, one of the officers started rendering aid while the other officers took Mr. Levesque into custody.
And when you say rendering aid, did they render aid at the scene, at that location?
Yeah, I believe one of the officers ripped his shirt off. They had to turn him over onto his side because he was choking on the blood from the first shot to the face.
Were you there for that?
Yes.
And can you just confirm for us that Kyle was taken from the scene by ambulance to a local hospital?
Yeah, first he was taken by ambulance to Frisbee. I met him there.
And can you just describe for us the sequence of events and what happens next in terms of
I couldn't get my car out of the driveway, so I had to call one of my coworkers who came and picked me up, and she brought me to Frisbee. They immediately let me back into the room where Kyle was. They had taken off most of his clothing. They had to cut it off. He was not conscious. He was still alive, but he was not conscious. They told me that he had lost a good portion of his blood and that they were...
I just have to object to what you were saying.
But I understand the objection, Your Honor. I'll rephrase and focus. When I'm asking about the experience, it's not necessary, and other witnesses would have to provide the actual assessment. And so I'd ask you not to convey through hearsay what the doctors told you.
Oh, sure.
Just, I just want to get a sequence of your experience. Where did you go? How long were you at Frisbee?
He was not at, I couldn't tell you exactly how long we were there. It was not very long. He was transported to Portsmouth shortly after.
What did you do from there?
I went to Portsmouth. I had my coworker drive me to Portsmouth.
And were you able to see Kyle at Portsmouth?
I was not able to see Kyle at Portsmouth because he was in emergency surgery.
And how long did your estimate? And again, I don't need to hold you to an exact, but how long do you think you were at Portsmouth?
Maybe a couple of hours.
And what happened next?
They took him to Boston Medical Center.
You know how he got down there?
Yeah, by ambulance.
And what did you do?
I went home to check on my children because they had stayed home. And then I went to Boston.
And how often were you able to see Kyle in Boston?
I stayed with Kyle in Boston from the day he got there until the day he went home.
Approximately how long was he admitted to the Boston facility?
April 5th to May 1st.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to approach. We submitted the medical photos. With permission, I'd like to approach, show this witness what's been marked as State's Exhibit 19 as a full exhibit. Counsel is 260 discovered.
Just double check. I think we have no problem. And that's okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Angela, I'm going to show you a photograph from that time. It's United States 19. You recognize that photo? Who that is?
That's Kyle.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how he appeared?
Yes.
Your Honor, can I ask the court to indulge me and remind the jurors that they'll have full access to any exhibits that are
Yeah,
presented?
I'm about to do that. So while you can take your time looking at it now, understand you'll have an opportunity, any full exhibits, you'll have an opportunity to see it later in the jury room. Very good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Angela, you said he was, released from the hospital. What was his, for instance, his last medical appointment related to these events?
The last medical appointment he just had was in the beginning of March, and he just went for a CAT scan it was Tuesday, I think, Monday or Tuesday? Monday.
Remember where Kyle was working before these events?
Yeah, he was working at Aldrich Lumber in Portsmouth.
Doing what?
He would it's not a mill yard where they make the wood, they sell it. So he would stock the shelves, help people if they came in to buy the lumber, load their trucks, stuff like that.
Has been able to return to work?
No,
Physically, how is he today?
still recovering.
And can you describe kind of his mental state concerning these events now?
He certainly is not the same person mentally that he was before this happened. He has severe PTSD. He's very depressed. He has a lot of anxiety because a lot of paranoia.
Is he still at home with you?
Yes.
No, if you just have a minute. Angela, this may sound like a strange question, but there's some legal obligations on my part. But I need to ask you, are you able to identify Jason Levesque in the courtroom today?
Yes, he's right over there.
And could you please identify him by some description of clothing or his appearance?
He's the man sitting right there with the dark beard, with the gray suit on and the blue undershirt.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect that this witness has identified the defendant as the individual depicted in the images that she's referred to.
Record will show that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Angela, those were my questions. I appreciate your time. As you know, Attorney Sisti will likely have some questions for you as well.
Sure, thank you.
If I may, Judge.
Yes.
do have a few questions,
Sure.
and nobody wants to put you through this kind of stuff. You understand that, right?
I do.
Okay, good. Prior to this date, did you ever have a conversation with Jason?
I had never spoken to that man ever.
Correct. You've never spoken to that man ever, and he has never approached you before that date, ever?
No.
I think I may be having a technical difficulty. Yeah.
We don't want to technical. Bad way to stop a trial.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Tell us when you're coming.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, let's get back to it. You never had a conversation with him, right?
No.
He never had a conversation with you, right?
No.
He never had a bad word for you, right?
No, I never spoken to him before.
Yeah, right, okay. And how long were you there from the time you left Farmington?
At the time of the incident, it was 2 years we were living there.
And again, I don't know if I heard you right. Was there a particular reason you left Farmington?
No, we just got a new place. It happened to be in Rochester.
All right, even though the kids were comfortable in the school, you wanted to go to Rochester, is that the deal?
Yeah.
On that particular night, actually, I think you may have made a little bit of a mistake, but I don't want to get too technical. It actually wasn't snowing at the time, at about 10 o'clock p.m. on that night, correct? Snow had stopped.
I'm not really sure.
You're not sure? I want to make sure that we're sure of a lot of things here. Actually, let me ask you kind of a goofy question, I guess.
Sure.
You were having problems and anxiety about your driveway being plowed.
Yes, my daughter's friend, father was supposed to come plow us out with his plow truck.
Okay. And you all had to get out in the morning, and you were concerned about that.
Yes.
And you were actually kind of anxious about having to hand shovel the whole thing.
I wouldn't call it anxious. We were concerned that we were going to have to shovel by hand. Yes, it wasn't. No.
Well, you saw in the video there was a guy right next door with a plow, right?
Yes.
Did anybody have the idea that maybe you could go out and ask that guy right there to plow?
Actually, my mother, who used to live in the front of our house, had asked Mr. Levesque one time prior when it snowed.
I'm going to ask you. Did you or Kyle have the idea that maybe you could go right next door because you were in some trouble and ask him to plow your driveway?
No, because he had refused it before.
To you?
To my mother.
So you don't know what happened there, do you?
I wasn't present, no, but she told me.
Okay, so let's talk about you and Kyle.
Sure.
Neither you nor Kyle had the idea to go over and ask him politely to just plow your driveway, right?
No, we didn't ask him.
Okay. And that idea never came up, or it never came up in conversation?
No, we never talked about it.
Now, at some point in time, around, I guess it was a little after 10 o'clock p.m.,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle decides to go out to talk to Jason, right?
Yes.
And was he a bit perturbed?
He was, I don't know, a bit perturbed, I guess, that he was plowing the snow at the end of our driveway, yes.
Well, actually, you say that, but we're going to play that video again in a second, all right?
Yeah, sure.
We will. And the end of your driveway, of course, is on one side of the telephone pole, right?
Yes.
And on the other side of the telephone pole, there's no driveway there.
Yeah, that's where his porch, Mr. Levesque's porch is.
Right. In fact, the driveway itself actually isn't at the edge of the telephone pole. It actually starts about 8 feet in,
Okay.
right? I mean, you live there.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll show you a photo if you need to see it. Still.
Sure.
Okay. I don't want to be messing around. I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. 294 in evidence. That's what I make sure
Thank you.
we're clear. I'm sorry. Could we have this? I'm going to show you what we've marked as defendant D for identification.
Yes.
It's what is it? Much tell you.
That is the front of Jason Levesque's house, and my driveway is to the left if you're looking at the picture.
Yeah, is that a pretty good picture?
Yes.
Accurately shows that.
Yes.
Can I have the ID straight?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, the ID is very full to it.
Before I show it to the jury, I just want to make sure we got this set up properly. We've got the utility pole, right?
Yes.
And the utility pole is right in the center of this picture.
I wouldn't call that the center.
Pretty close. It's on the side of your drive.
His house is in the center of the picture.
Okay. The pole is on the side of your drive.
Right.
Looking at the photograph, the pole is to the right of your drive.
Correct.